Good morning. The governor and the rest of the staff will be joining us. Well, he's walking in right now, joining us shortly. I wanted to first take this opportunity to welcome you to our wonderful elementary school here. I want to start by, so that she can get back to running her school, is thanking Dr. Pereira. It's her first year here as principal. If you could wave your hand. I do want to also recognize the board members that are here. Mr. Donald Coleman, our board chair, somewhere. Okay. Ms. Kim Gray, I think I saw just walk down the steps. It's back there. And I didn't see them walk in, but they may be here. But if not, Ms. Pinckney Epps was in the cafeteria, and Ms. Taylor, the other two school board members, were here. So if you could give them a nice round of applause. So before I step aside, I do also want to give a public thank you to the governor, the first lady, and the U.S. Department for their work in closing what the mayor has made one of his priorities, and that's the poverty issues that we face here in Richmond. I am proud to say that as of this morning, the staff updated me that while we were a district that was at 77% free and reduced lunch, we're at 77.8 now, free and reduced lunch, and that's just an indicator of poverty. But when you take school age poverty issues, it's very high. The city, I believe, is 26%, but we probably come close to doubling that when you just take school age population of children. But more importantly, with the programs that have been rolled out this year by the governor, the first lady, and in partnership with our federal contingent, is that we're up to, I think Tommy said, about 80% of our students now are eating in Richmond Public Schools. So I think that's something to give a round of applause. Our goal is to have 85%. So 8 to 9 kids out of 10 eating with us every day. And we're closing that gap because at the end of the day, many of our students, this is the best meal they get, breakfast and lunch. And now this new initiative is even more exciting, that we can close the gap even further. So I won't steal anyone else's thunder, and I'll turn it over to the mayor. Okay, at this point in time, I would like to introduce you, the Honorable Mayor of Richmond, Mayor Dwight Jones.
Well, good morning, everybody. It's a delight to be here today. This is a wonderful day in the Churchill section, east end of our city, for this wonderful announcement, and we want to welcome all of our guests who are here. You know, when you have 26% poverty in your city, trying to mitigate that becomes extremely complex. But our administration has taken it head on, and one of our main priorities is the mitigation of poverty, and we have done that in many ways. We have done that with a comprehensive approach for job opportunities, for targeted economic development. Certainly, economic educational outcomes are extremely important to us. And then we want to address food deserts. I had a food policy task force that reported to me in 2013, and just what we're doing here today is what they recommended. And so I want to express gratitude to First Lady McCullough for having such passion for this issue. She is doing a tremendous job of spearheading this. And just last week, I believe it was, or week before last, we were in John B. Carey's school, and we were there early enough to see the young people getting breakfast before they started their day. And you can't imagine what it means to have that child have a full belly when they're trying to learn. They cannot learn when they're hungry. And so this is such important work, and we're very happy to welcome Secretary Vilsack to the city of Richmond. I believe that he comes bearing gifts, and since the announcement is here in Richmond, I'm assuming that we will be very happy about the announcement. And so we look forward to hearing what happens during the rest of this news conference. It's my pleasure now to bring up Congressman Robert C. Bobby Scott, the hardest working congressman in the United States Congress. Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, Governor, First Lady, Mr. Secretary, and other elected officials. This is a great day for Richmond. We know that the job numbers and the general economic reports have been favorable, but a lot of people have just simply not recovered from the recession. 20% of children generally are still in poverty, including, according to some reports, a majority of the students in public schools. Obviously, they will have difficulty in affording nutritious meals and therefore will not only be vulnerable to medical complications, but also less likely to perform academically. So 4 years ago, Congress passed the Healthy and Hunger-Free Kids Act to address this challenge, and demonstration projects like this one will be able to provide children in Richmond 3 meals a day, weekends, school breaks, and summer, and we'll be able to demonstrate how good these programs actually operate. We will very shortly, hopefully this year, be reauthorizing the Child Nutrition Act, and the demonstration that we see here today will go a long way in making sure that we do the right thing. So as a result of this grant, children in Richmond will be more likely to have access to nutritious meals and therefore enjoy healthier lives and perform better academically. And on behalf of them, I want to thank you, Mr. Secretary, for coming back to Richmond. Thank you. They didn't tell me who I was introducing next. But the Secretary of the United States Department of Agriculture, who has actually been to Richmond several times, always with good news, former Governor of Iowa, Secretary Vilsack.
Thank you, folks. Thank you. Well, it's certainly a terrific honor for me to be here this morning, to share good news. I do want to say this about Congressman Scott. He has been an extraordinary champion for kids around his own congressional district, but as importantly around the United States. No one speaks more eloquently and passionately about the need for nutrition assistance than Congressman Scott does in the U.S. Congress. And Mayor, I will tell you, you and I need to talk. Be happy to visit with you about food deserts and the work that we can do collectively. But you have in this state 2 of the nation's best champions for better nutrition, for dealing with the twin issues of hunger and obesity that plague our children throughout the United States. There is no governor, and there is certainly no first lady, more invested in nutrition and in kids' futures than the McAuliffes. So I want to thank the governor and the first lady for their tremendous leadership. And Congressman Scott put a fine point on this, but this is about the future of these young people, and it's not just about their educational future. Clearly, it is absolutely essential, as the mayor said, for kids to be well fed in order for them to learn. Congressman Scott also pointed out that this is about the health of these youngsters, and if we don't address this issue comprehensively, then these youngsters will be faced with a long-term series of chronic diseases and illnesses that they'll take into adult life, adding additional cost to health care. But it's not even just that. It's about the competitiveness of our economy and the ability of America to continue to be competitive in a global economy. It's also about our national security. Retired admirals and generals, if they were here today, would tell you they're deeply concerned about the ability of the military to meet the needs of an all-volunteer military with so few kids who are physically fit to do military service. So what we're talking about here today is about national security and economic security and educational achievement and reducing healthcare costs. It's very, very important. That's why we've taken a very comprehensive look at this at USDA. We focused on young kids with our WIC program and improving the package WIC program. We, at Congressman Scott's direction, looked at creative ways in our SNAP program to increase access to fruits and vegetables by allowing SNAP cards to be redeemed at farmers markets. We've looked at point-of-sale incentives to encourage more fruit and vegetable consumption by the 46 million people who participate in SNAP. About 15 million of them are children. We looked at creative ways to expand summer feeding, and the state of Virginia has just been an extraordinary leader in this effort to expand summer feeding. We've seen an increase of 23 million meals since President Obama was elected in the summer feeding program on an annual basis, and we want to get more this year. And we indeed did get the Healthy Hunger Free Kids Act passed, and we are in the process of implementing it, which is improving the quality of the meals that these youngsters are served. But we need to do more, and that's why we're here today. The law directed the Department of Agriculture to establish a series of demonstration projects. Where are the gaps? Where are the issues? Where are the challenges? Virginia stepped up in a very aggressive way, and I'll let the governor and the First Lady amplify on this, but the largest single award that was made in this demonstration project is going to the state of Virginia, $8.8 million, which the state will then determine how best to use. Simultaneously with that decision, we also announced the expansion of our school equipment grant program, the opportunity to give schools the capacity to prepare food on site, which obviously will be fresher and more nutritious. State of Virginia, again, a leader, will be receiving almost $500,000 to distribute to schools across the state. And we're also announcing today an opportunity to recognize that some school districts continue to be challenged with making sure that the paperwork is right. So we're continuing to expand our community eligibility program for school districts like this one that face a high level of free and reduced lunch kids. Well, maybe we ought to get away from the application process and the administrative burden that places on schools, and basically have every kid be a free and reduced lunch kid so that everybody gets fed. And finally, we want to recognize that there are schools, even with all of this help and assistance, that continue to struggle to meet these new standards. And we don't want to leave any school district behind. So today we're announcing the expansion of our Team Up for Success program. This is a program that essentially takes schools that have succeeded in instituting these new standards and mentoring the schools that are struggling, pairing a succeeding school district with a struggling school district. We started this in the Deep South. We looked at 53 schools. We found 27 mentoring schools. And it was such a successful opportunity for these schools to learn more about procurement and how you essentially display food and how you get kids engaged in doling the food out. We saw expansive success as a result of this effort in the Deep South, and so we are announcing today we're expanding this nationally, and we would certainly expect Virginia to be front and center in applying for additional opportunities for their struggling schools to participate in this program. Our goal is to get over 700 school districts across the United States that are struggling engaged and enrolled in this program by the end of the year. We think that will help a long way to dealing with the 7% of school districts that are still having trouble. 93% are now on board. We need to get to 100% because it's 100% of our future we saw there in that line today. So again, I want to thank the McCulloughs for their extraordinary leadership. I will tell you that it's always a real honor for me to be here in the state of Virginia, the Commonwealth of Virginia, and I certainly appreciate the leadership, the passion, the energy of your governor, Governor Terry McAuliffe.
Well, thank you. Good morning, everybody. What an honor to be with you. I do want to thank our great Secretary of Agriculture. You heard all of the great programs that he just announced at the federal level, and I cannot tell you how appreciative we are here in Virginia to be the recipient of that money. And I always like when he says that Virginia got more than any other state. So let's hear it for our great Secretary of Agriculture. I always like to make the point to cabinet officials, there really is only one state in America that counts. Forget the other 49. They're worthless. It's all about Virginia. But he was the governor of Iowa, so I'll give him a break. We're one of the two, Mr. Secretary. But Tom Vilsack has been great to us, folks. He has been responsive every time Dorothy and I have called him, and his department and all the folks. He and I recently just toured the state fair here together, and he has always been there when we need him. So I thank you, Mr. Secretary. There is not a Secretary of Agriculture that has shown the passion and commitment to feeding our children than you have, and you are a true leader, and we are blessed as a Commonwealth, we are blessed as a nation to have you as our United States Secretary of Agriculture. So thank you, sir. It is great to be with the hardest working member of Congress, Bobby Scott, there's no question. I know in my lifetime I'm going to see him as the first Virginia Speaker of the House of the United States House of Representatives. But right, Bobby? Well, all right. I'm not saying you got to move anybody out. I'm just saying, you know, you're going to be there for a while. But listen, Bobby has been a great partner up at the federal level on all the different issues. I thank him. Mayor, it is great to be with you again. He and I have stood at so many podiums together to make so many announcements. I think when we talk about federal money, He and I recently just stood together with the Secretary of Department of Transportation. We got percentage-wise more Tiger grants than any state in the United States of America. Richmond, you can read it, Richmond is on fire, it is doing great, and it's under your great leadership. So I thank you, Mr. Mayor, for your tremendous leadership. And I'm glad our superintendent of schools is here with us today. I think it's about 20 degrees in Boston today. Their taxes are high. And it is going to be 67 degrees here in the Commonwealth, in Richmond here. So I do want to thank it. But listen, I am honored that any time another state wants to come down to our state and try and cherry pick our great talent, that is something, folks, we should be proud of. But you know what? The superintendent made the right decision. He's staying in the greatest state in the United States. I mean, he's staying right here in Richmond, Virginia. So I thank him for that. I also want to recognize this would not be successful today were not our great partners in the General Assembly. And they have worked so hard. In fact, last week we had a great presentation of a documentary where Dolores McQuinn and my wife were the movie stars in it, but talked about the food deserts, the 18% of the food deserts that we have here in the Commonwealth of Virginia. But Dolores McQuinn and Betsy Carr and Rosalind Dance, folks, we could not ask for better advocates for us. So give them a great round of applause, and I thank them for their leadership. And of course, the greatest Secretary of Education we've ever had, and our great Ann Holt, and she is out there fighting for you every single day. And I do not want to forget, we also have our Secretary of the Commonwealth. We're blessed to have him here today. Stand up. LeVar Stoney is actually here with us today. And well, it's great to be back here at Woodville. Last year I was here, as you know, Cat in the Hat and Dr. Seuss. I did my Read Across America Day here and had a spectacular day, but it's great to be back here again today. I'd like to thank the school administration for hosting me and Dorothy, and appreciate and applaud you for the great work and the commitment that you have for your children. I also want to, before I finish introductions, not forget someone very important to me. Woman who's actually been married to me for 26 years, if you can believe that possible. But she has been a great advocate for children. The First Lady of the Commonwealth, Dorothy McAuliffe, my wife, who is here with us today. Because eradicating hunger is what Dorothy and I are all about. And she has been a tireless effort. She has been such a great advocate to make sure that we have nutritious meals in our schools for our children. And I'll be honest with you, it's because of her efforts. Priding me every day. She does have an inside deal with every day. She sees me morning and night. But listen, she is the reason we are all here today, and I cannot thank her enough for what she has done. I would also like to recognize the Virginia Department of Education, the Department of Health and Social Services, the Virginia Foundation for Healthy Youth, and the Federation of Virginia Food Banks, as well as Share Our Strength. They have all been great partners. So if you give all those teams a great round of applause, I appreciate it. We are here to celebrate some really fantastic news. Virginia has been awarded an $8.8 million grant from the USDA to fight childhood hunger here in the Commonwealth. This grant will fund our bold new proposal to feed students in rural Southwest Virginia and also here in the city of Richmond. The lessons that we learned through this demonstration project will help Virginia leaders as well as members of Congress and other states so that they can make informed decisions on how we can put an end to childhood hunger once and for all. As you know, Virginia is just one of 5 recipients. And statewide, we were the largest recipient. So once again, I am so proud that Virginia is leading the way. At this very moment, I think we all realize that we have 300,000 children in Virginia who go to school hungry. Folks, this is the Commonwealth of Virginia. This is unacceptable. And we are going to end that here in Virginia. But think of it, 300,000 children in the Commonwealth today aren't exactly sure where their next meal is going to come from. Think about that. It's outrageous, and it's time that we do something about it, and we're going to do that. That's why these funds are so critical. One of my campaign pledges was, by the time I leave office, that we do not have one child go to school hungry. And this announcement today is really going to leap us forward in that regard. This multi-million-dollar grant will allow us to put a robust, innovative, and effective project into practice. And the concept is simple. We will now begin providing children in targeted areas in Southwest and Richmond City with 3 healthy, nutritious meals a day, 3 a day for 365 days a year. During the school year, all students in the selected schools will receive a healthy breakfast, lunch, and after-school meal, as well as packs of easily consumed non-perishable food to take home on weekends and for breaks. During the summer months, which is really historic what we're doing, when school meals are unavailable, our Virginia families now who are participating in the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program will receive an extra $60 per month in benefits per child, and then families of students eligible for free or reduced meals but who are not enrolled in SNAP will also receive $60 a month to improve their food security. To increase student involvement, participating schools can also adopt alternative models like providing what we call breakfast in the classroom, delivering meals before students leave for the day. Our message is simple. As we have told all the superintendents in the Department of Education has put the word out, do whatever it works. Do not talk to us about obstacles. This administration is about getting things done. Think out of the box, be creative, do new things. As I tell my cabinet every Monday morning, try new things. I will only be disappointed as governor as if you don't try new things. Try new things, you might fail. So what? Get yourself out of bed the next day, figure it out, and move forward. That's how we become a leader here in Virginia. So with this grant, our targeted schools will now have the flexibility that they need and the funds that they require to best address the chronic problem of childhood and student hunger. So let me be clear. You and I both know that we cannot expect students to remember a homework assignment if they can't remember where their last meal came from. We all know the issues. You show up at school and hungry, you're really not interested in paying attention. You can talk to Meg Gruber here, and she can tell you from all of her fellow teachers that she has throughout the Commonwealth, it is a chronic complaint. So we can end that. And now every child can go and get a meal and be ready to learn, because I talk constantly about building that new Virginia economy. And we've had great success. You've all seen the numbers. I just announced the lowest unemployment we've had in 7 years. Under our first 14 months, we've done $6.1 billion in direct investment, which is 2.5 times what any governor has done in the history of the Commonwealth of Virginia. We are creating jobs. But what we have to make sure is we can tell a CEO that they are going to have a workforce 10, 20, 30 years from today, and that workforce starts at pre-K and K through 12. That's where you build that workforce of the future, and you cannot be competitive on a global basis if your children are hungry. So folks, that is why I am fired up. But then again, I'm always fired up, but we cannot and shouldn't demand student success be tied to their inability to get a meal. It is a great announcement that we have today, and the children of the Commonwealth, the children of Southwest Virginia and of Richmond City are counting on us to do the right thing. If you could have stood with me in that line when we all fed the students coming through for lunch, to see those bright eyes, these students who were dying to learn, and we were able to give them a meal and just see that joy. I got to tell you, I was at AP Hill the other day where I read for Read Across America Day. These young children, folks, they are tired of excuses. I am tired of hearing people with excuses and blaming schools and blaming it's over. It's time to act. And today we are acting. So I appreciate all the efforts that all of you have done. But as I said, we would not be here today were it not for the First Lady, who has kept her promise in priority number one, that we are going to feed every child here. And this is a historic day, and this is the beginning of a turn for us here in the Commonwealth of Virginia with our schools to make sure all children are fed. I am honored to present to you the First Lady of the Commonwealth of Virginia, Dorothy McAuliffe.
Well, thank you, Governor. That was very, I appreciate all the kind remarks about me today, but this really, truly was a team effort, and that's why we're here to celebrate this amazing team effort. I'm really pleased to be here today and have the opportunity to thank Secretary Vilsack and the USDA for their support of Virginia through this demonstration project. We appreciate the trust that you have placed in us. I'd also like to recognize and thank the organizations and individuals who worked so hard to develop this program and to write our grant proposal. These things don't come easily, shall we say. It's important to recognize all those who work so hard, as the governor did mention, but I'll do it again. Virginia's Departments of Education, Health, and Social Services, Virginia's Foundation for Healthy Youth, the Federation of Virginia Food Banks, our Secretary of Health and Human Services, Bill Hazel. I don't know if he's here, but we appreciate him. And of course, our Secretary of Education, Ann Holton. Also, to share our strength, Duke Storin is here with us today, and he was critical to help craft and draft our proposal. So thank you very much, Duke, for your leadership as well. So these are our community stakeholders, and it truly is a great partnership that we're celebrating today. And I would especially like to thank Catherine DeGilio Grimes, the Director of School Nutrition for the Department of Education, and Marge White, I don't see Marge, but for Director for the Virginia Foundation for Healthy Youth, for their leadership throughout the process. And last but not least, I would be remiss if I did not thank my Chief of Staff, Lincoln Saunders, and the team in the First Lady's office. There is no I in team, we're all together. And Lincoln, thank you for your leadership. It was a lot of work to get here, and now that we have this amazing opportunity, there will be a lot of more work to do. So ahead of time, in anticipation of all that hard work, I thank you again. But there's a reason why all this work is worth it, and the governor outlined it better than anyone could, as did the secretary. But a recent report found that more than half of the students in our country, in our nation's public schools, live in poverty. And in Virginia, there are over 300,000 food insecure Virginia children, as the governor mentioned, and that is 1 in 6 children. And we can't expect Virginia's children to be hungry for knowledge if they are just plain hungry. Good nutrition is the cornerstone of educational success and building healthy communities. Too many parents struggle every day with making sure there's enough food on the table, and sadly, we know our kids can't always count on a meal outside of school. We know this need is growing and should be tackled with bold and innovative strategies. The Virginia Hunger-Free Kids Act demonstration project aims to do just that. Because 3 meals a day, every day, is important to all of us, but it's especially important for our children. And this truly is a historic project. Never before, we are looking at schools as a food hub for those children who are food insecure and hungry, basically hungry. The governor and I are more than gratified to know that thousands of Virginia children will benefit from the initiatives we will implement through this demonstration project. We have a great public education system here in Virginia, and we are always looking for ways to make it even better. But we need to make sure our children can take advantage of the opportunity that our schools provide, so that we can achieve the ultimate goal of preparing them to succeed in the new Virginia economy that our governor and his team are working so hard to build. By bringing together many community stakeholders in strong public-private partnerships, we know the demonstration project will drive down childhood hunger and drive up academic success. We are excited to bring this project to children in Bristol, Buchanan, Galax, Grayson, Lee, Scott, Smith, and Richmond. And I want to thank those superintendents in Southwest Virginia and Dr. Bedden here in Richmond for stepping up to work with us to fight childhood hunger in these communities. I look forward to our continued collaboration as this project moves forward and Virginia continues to lead the way, because this is a demonstration project which can be replicated all across the country. And we will continue, Governor, to lead the way. I want to thank you again, finally, the USDA and especially Secretary Vilsack, for your leadership and focus on ending childhood hunger and granting Virginia the resources and trust to put our plan into action. And now I'm honored to introduce Pam Irvine, the President and CEO of Feed America Southwest Virginia, to talk about the direct impact that this grant will have on her community. So, Pam.
Well, good morning. How are you this morning? Good morning. I traveled all the way from Southwest Virginia, and I will have to say this is one of our proudest moments in Richmond, to be able to be a partner in this great work, the USDA demonstration project. And Governor, you said it so well, when the children were coming in, the smiles on their faces. But we're bringing more than that, First Lady. We're bringing hope. to those children. In Southwest Virginia, we don't have a lot of resources, and we have some of the highest food insecurity in the state in Southwest Virginia. And so this grant is going to bring hope. I would like to say that this grant is going to provide backpack program, backpacks and the food, the logistics to provide to nearly 4,000 students, over 293 backpacks, $1.4 million to go into our children, who are our greatest commodity in this nation. And we're so honored to work with the Department of Education and share our strength and all the great partners. But we are very honored to work with this administration. Secretary, thank you. You'll remember, Mr. Scott, 20 years ago with the Federation of Virginia Food Bank, we talked about ending childhood hunger and hunger within this Commonwealth. So this is a great day. I'm telling you, our cheerleader here, the First Lady and the Governor, I'm thinking we need to take this on the road, because I believe this is a model for other states to follow, because children should not go to hungry in America. We should take care of our children every way we can, and this grant will provide that opportunity. So in the hills of Southwest Virginia, in the hollers, and in those challenged areas and remote part of this state, children are going to be taking backpacks home. Children are going to have afternoon, evening meals, and they're going to have 3 squared meals a day. To me, that's hope, that's health, and that's happiness. And we have that in this demonstration grant. So thank you.
We want to thank you all for coming. I will turn it back over to our hosts. I will close out by saying to the governor that we already started thinking outside the box, because we got a little plan going on here about some other initiatives that we can try to do. I do want to, they walked in, that I introduced earlier, Ms. Mamie Taylor and Ms. Pinckney Epps in the back, 2 other board members. Ms. Susan Robeson, our food nutrition director. And Mr. Do-It-All, Mr. Tommy Krantz, our assistant superintendent of support services. So again, thank you to the mayor, the governor, and everyone else, and the First Lady has been involved. We look forward to this opportunity, because this school will be, I believe, we designate one of the hubs for extended meals in the evening, and it is our highest free and reduced lunch school in the district, and that's why it was designated as one of the hubs. So we're going to go directly where the biggest need is and try to close a gap on what we call Maslow's hierarchy of basic needs: food.